Now, let's introduce our next speaker. His name is Henk Boelman, and he is a cloud advocate specializing in artificial intelligence and Azure with a background in application development. He is currently part of the regional cloud advocate team in the Netherlands. Before joining Microsoft, he was a Microsoft AI MVP and worked as a software developer and architect, building lots of AI-powered platforms on Azure. He loves to share his knowledge about topics such as DevOps, Azure, and artificial intelligence by providing training courses, and he's a regular speaker at user groups and international conferences. So Henk, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. So my name is Henk, and I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft, and I'm based in the Netherlands, mostly focusing on how to get you all started with AI. And today, this presentation is called The Age of Applied AI. And this presentation is mainly what is already out there and how can you apply that to your software solutions. How can you combine these different AI things and make this make your project easier and nicer to use? Yesterday we looked at how you can train models, so we tried to solve this problem. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about the picture. I think it is on the left. The people with no idea about AI telling me AI will destroy the world. We're going to zoom in a little bit to that. So what is actually there, and which questions do I have that we have to ask ourselves, and how did we get there? How long are we already busy with it? And we're not going to look as much as why my neural network is classifying a cat as a dog, as that is also a very interesting topic, but then you have to watch back the presentation from yesterday. So our story starts in the year 1955. That is the year that the word artificial intelligence was coined at a conference. And that was when we first started to think about an artificial intelligence. Before it was just computers and dedicated machines, and that was the time that we were like, oh, maybe they can be intelligent or mimic human behavior. Yes, so what I would like is that if you have questions during this presentation or you want to see anything, because I'm going to show you some services later on, I'm going to throw some words, some topics in the conversation. I would love if you respond in the chat. Just ask it. We can look it up. We can have a look at what things are, and I'm very happy to also have your answer to this question you're seeing now: how the world looked when I was small. So I will start, and that will give you like the 20 seconds delay to actually put it in the chat. So for me, this is how my first computers looked like. And these were also the games I played. And I really love when I see this back, how much things I actually had. Like I had the CD-ROM player, I had the floppy disk, I had another floppy disk, I had my zip disk, and I had my turbo button on my 386. And I was very happy with my color screen. And we were playing Doom, and everything was very, very disconnected when I started. So that should tell you a little bit about my age. Then, when I grew up a little bit, this was my world with internet. It was like 39 years for like 180 MB to be downloading, and then I actually had a browser so I could browse the internet. Like 4K per second, that is like unheard now. And this was kind of the first thing that kind of mimicked some intelligence for me. This was this paperclip that looked at what I was doing and was actually giving me advice on how to do things any better. So if you have anything, just throw it in the chat. I love all your stories. But if we look now how the world has changed in 2020 and with AI coming in. So of course we had the cloud. That changed a lot. But there is also something else. There is AI brewed beer. I could not have imagined that an AI would brew my beer when I was growing up. There are AI infused toothbrushes, and actually one of my colleagues has one of those things and actually uses it, and it tells you a lot about how you are brushing. And I personally wouldn't know why you would have one, but that is the beauty of it. You can at the moment. And then I also found this AI infused toilets. And I will not get into detail what this actually analyzes for you. So let's have a look at the timeline of AI. Like, where did it all started and where are we now? So we started basically in the year 1950 when the Turing test was there. And in 1955, John McCartney coined like the term artificial intelligence, making it the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. And then later on, it started with like small steps in the coming 15 years. So we had Eliza, which was kind of the first chatbot. There was Shaky, kind of the first general purpose mobile robot. I saw some pictures, it looked pretty cool. And then it suddenly stopped for a long time. It was like kind of the AI winter. So there were many false starts, lots of dead ends, and other things continued. But nobody was really focusing on AI applications anymore. But then suddenly in 1997, lots of new research happened and lots of cool things, which we're actually still on, are improving now, came to market. So in 2002, there was the Roomba, the vacuum cleaner. More and more people are buying these things. They're getting cheaper and cheaper. And I think one of the most breaking through that it really became in everyone's house were like the speech assistants, like the Apple with Siri, Google, and so on. And later on, we had Watson, Eugene, then Alexa came, and it really AI came into your living room. And also from that moment, we really started to see some problems with it. So there was this chatbot, we will not go in, but that started to learn and turned racist. And then later on, more and more of those things. So this will leave us to the discussion of what artificial intelligence or machine learning actually is. So if I talk about machine learning, I always use the term, it is the ability to make your computer learn without explicitly programming it. But that is just a part of machine learning. So artificial intelligence is way wider. So artificial intelligence actually is everything that mimics human behavior. So it doesn't have to contain machine learning or deep learning for it to be called artificial intelligence. And at the bottom of this slide, there is a very long URL that we maybe can share like in the chat or later on when you look at the slides you can pick out. And this really explains very well the concepts of deep learning vs machine learning. So I just said that we make our computer learn without explicitly programming it. And as a developer, I'm really, it's like really with my unit test, if then else. And now, how is my computer learning it? So how do we know and test it if it is making the right decisions? Because all my computer knows now is the data I feed it. So it might pick up a biased view of the world. So we start off with a few questions. Would you trust an AI too? So let's go to a few scenarios and throw in the chat what you think of them. So the first thing is, would you trust your computer to recommend you a product or a service. Like you go on a website, you click through the website, and it will start learning from your behavior, and it will tell you, you might like this shirt, you might like this pants. Or would you like it to help to keep you safe? Or assist you in driving? Or actually drive you? Monitor your health? Or dispense even medication for you? So where would you put your level, where you would trust these machines? Would you trust an AI algorithm to help you choose a babysitter? So there are lots of questions, lots of levels where AI can be in your life. And you as a person have to think, how far do you let this AI come? I would personally, I'm fine with recommendations from a website. It saves me a lot of Googling for the same kind of pens or other things. I find it easy. It is helping me. I love that thing that keeps that AI in my car that keeps distance between the other car. I like it, but I would be scared if it is going to drive me, and I would give out the full control. I personally like those AI systems that make my life a little bit easier. So, but when you're considering building AI system, you can have a look at the FATE framework. So that is all about, are your models fair? Are your models accountable, transparent, and ethical? I'm not an expert in responsible AI, but I just want to name these few things and some few examples for it. So let's have a look at fairness. And that always starts with the first point. Is anyone treated differently? You have to test it. Is the training data that you actually gave your model, is it relevant and does it represent everyone? And are there systems in place to detect and address potential unfairness? Who is accountable for when your model makes a wrong decision? Is it you as a driver for the car, or is it a car, or is it a field I don't even want to go in it? But is there a mechanism to feedback and challenge results? Is there an ultimate human accountable for it? And is this AI behavior verifiable in the real world? All questions and all points that you just need to ask yourself before you even start creating machine learning models. And is it also transparent? Is it clear that an AI system is making these decisions for you? Because you just want to know, is it an AI, is it a human, who, and how are these decisions made? And is it understandable and clear described? We had a discussion yesterday in our panel where we were talking about this, and I personally think that you should always know when you're talking to an AI system. And there should be like a document, the same as with medicine. You should have like a document. This is the AI thing. This is what it is trained on. This is what it is used. And does it comply with privacy laws and contain appropriate use of controls? And then we come into like even a more challenging field. Is it really ethical? What we are doing? Is there human monitoring? There is also this example in the Netherlands. We had these signposts. There was a camera in, nobody knew, and they were just monitoring your emotions, if you were smiling to the signpost or not, and making the advertisements better. Lots of people were pissed. They went around with duct tape and taping all the cameras. So there are a lot of things that you need to consider before you actually start thinking of implementing AI in a solution. And this is like a perfect framework to ask a lot of questions before you get started. So if you want to continue learning, this is one of those cool slides with animations. There are some great resources here. The Trouble with Bias, Responsible AI resources, AI Now a report, ethical questions are there, and of course there are a lot of Microsoft Learn modules how you can actually start with explaining the models you have trained. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is, are you going to build your own AI system, or are you going to buy one? Like, it is a lot of work to build your own AI system, but sometimes you just have to because it is based on your data, it is not out there, or your problem cannot be solved with a pre-made AI system. But there are a lot of services out there that can actually speed up your process. They're well tested, and there is a big group of people maintaining these services. So I want to talk to you about Microsoft's cognitive services, or in general cognitive services, because there are more providers having these services. So cognitive services are pre-trained models in the cloud and on the edge, meaning that Microsoft is training these models, or any other provider, and is taking all this fate framework in account when training these models. They run in the cloud, meaning that you can access them through an API. And some of these services you can pick up and run in a Docker container in your own infrastructure. So that will tackle a lot of privacy issues, because your data is not leaving your network or your company. Mostly these services are divided in 4 regions. So there is vision, speech, language, and knowledge. So there is vision to see, there is speech to make your application listen to you and talk back, there is a language to understand what is being spoken, and there is knowledge if you want to tap into the knowledge of the bigger internet to give your application like a brain. So let's dive a little bit in what these services can actually do and solve for you. So first of all, there is a computer vision API, and that will really help you see what is going on. So you feed it images, and it can, for instance, describe what it sees on the image. If you feed it this image, it will tell you it's a man jumping in the air doing a trick on a skateboard. So that's pretty good. It's very well trained on people with skateboards. So let's have a look. This is the demo website. So I was like, yeah, let's confuse it a little bit. Let's give it a dog with a cat head, or a cat sitting on a dog. Let's see what it is doing there. So the first thing this API will give you back is it will give you the position where it sees the object. And in this case, it's seeing the object dog. And it's an animal, and it is like 0.9 or 90% sure that it is a dog sitting there. So that is correct. It also sees kind of tags. So it's trying to see that it is an animal, it's sitting, it's looking, it's brown, small, I wouldn't say that, white. Okay, the cat is white. I don't see a table, but it also detected a cat. And the description of this, what the beta AI made is, it's a dog looking at the camera, which is pretty accurate. If you feed it celebrities, it will actually tell you where these celebrities are in the picture and who they are. So if you're famous enough, you might end up in this database. And it can read text in images. And this is all one API that can do all those different things. So it has also a built-in OCR capability, so it can read text. Doesn't matter if the text is upside down, left, right, doesn't matter. And it will tell you where the sentences are and where the words are. It can also do handwriting, and it can even read my handwriting as that you see in this image. And that is just one API call away. So when you have that text, it can actually translate the text for you from 10 languages when you're speaking, when you're actually speaking it through the speech API, to 62 languages. If you just have typed text, then it can do 62 to 62. So if you read this here, this text, you can actually translate it in real time to Klingon. So imagine I can write an application that is just recording my voice, streaming it to an API, and then get everything I say back in Klingon. And that is maybe 10, 15 lines of code to actually do that translation. So dive a little bit deeper in these APIs. So if you want to create a face recognition system, face detection, person identification system, there is a face API. And this face API can detect and describe persons. And this is a sample application I made that illustrates all the fields you get back. Once again, you just have to send one image to this API, and this is the information you get back. So first of all, you get back where someone's face is and where specific points are from the face. So it's like the top left of the eyebrows, points of the mouth, the nose, the eyes. It all gives you that back for every person in the video or in the photo. So it can do up to, I think, 32 faces. And from every face, it will tell you, or does a guess about the age, the gender, tells if someone is happy, if someone is smiling, someone is really wearing glasses. So it can detect between none, reading glasses, sunglasses, and swimming goggles. It classifies your hair color, meaning that it is saying, I'm 99% sure that your hair is brown, but I'm 96% sure that your hair is black. So it tries to classify your hair. It is not telling you, hey, your hair is brown. It tells you if you have to shave. I have to shave. It tells me I have 30% a beard and a mustache and my sideburns. I'm not wearing makeup in this picture. So it says eye makeup no, lip makeups no. And it can tell you which accessories you're wearing. So it can tell you if you wear a cap or glasses or earrings. So it's also detecting that. It also can classify your emotions. So according to the system, I'm 82% happy and 60% neutral. So there are some fun applications. It's called the Intelligent Kiosk in the Windows App Store. You can download it, and there's some game in where you can try to do all the emotions and get a picture of it. It's pretty funny to actually do. And then it tells you one other important thing. It tells you the quality, a lot about the quality of your of the image. So mostly you use these images to start training your system so it can recognize you. So now it is seeing a face, but I would like it to say that it is now seeing Henk. So, but when you want to do that, you need a good picture, because if you feed it bad pictures, you will get a bad result. So here it is telling a lot of things about, first of all, the picture and of the face. So it tells if the blur is good, the exposure is good, and it will tell you how the head is positioned. Is it the one actually looking in the camera? Do we see all the eyes, the forehead, and do we see the mouth? So you can check these parameters before you start feeding these images to, hey, this is Henk, to your system. So this is one thing what Microsoft is doing when training this. It is actually adopting this facial recognition principle. Fairness, transparency, accountability, non-discriminating, notice and consent, and lawful surveillance. If you want to read more about that, go to this link below, aka.ms/facial recognition principles, and they will explain it a little bit more. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this example. And this hopefully illustrates that there is more to just the algorithm that you make when you're doing an AI project. So this is a case in China, it's a project they did there. And they have a system with cameras where they can recognize people, and if they're jaywalking, they get found automatically. So they look up the face in the system and automatically send a fine. And its system worked perfectly. All the pictures, but what they didn't account for is that people's faces can be on buses or on cars. And cars, of course, drive through red in this case for the pedestrian lights. So this woman got a lot of tickets because there was a poster of her on a bus. So it is not just the AI. The AI algorithm did the work perfectly, but the software around it was, in this case, not meeting the requirements. So another thing that we see a lot, and actually a lot of the times on websites and customer services, at least here in Europe, I'm mostly presented with a bot that is mostly trying to help me before it is actually going to connect me to a human. And for that, they use something like language understanding, because as a developer, you know that it is very crappy to build one of these bot systems where you have to switch and if every single thing someone can tell to your bot. So let's have a look what this service can actually take away for you as a developer. So there are many ways of actually saying and meaning the same thing. In this case, it is about comments on a website. So I wanted to make a chatbot where I could just ask, hey, are there any new comments? And then the chatbot would say yes or no. And I can ask that in many different ways. Like my Google Assistant responds to all those questions and does exactly the same thing. So this system for you matches all these different ways of saying the same thing to an intent. So you send this piece of text to that service and it comes back with the top scoring intent, and it is like 97% sure that you are meaning something, that you want to talk about comments. So it just gives you back that, and you can write in code. You can now say switch comment. Okay, then we go to the next step. What it also can do is it can extract entities from those sentences, because there is a big difference, like are there negative comments or are there positive comments. I still want to talk about my comments, that is still the intent, but I have some entities here that I want to talk about the negative comments or the positive comments. Put the lights on, put the lights off. Quite important things. It's still about the lights, but put them on or off. That is what this Lewis thing solves, and that's the base for chatbots. There's also text analytics that can help you understand what this text means. So it can detect sentiment, can extract key phrases, named entities, and language from sentences. So what can it do? If you have a sentence like, let's go back again to reviews. I had a wonderful trip to Kansas and enjoyed eating a good barbecue. So I send that sentence to our text analytics API, and it will tell me, hey, you're talking English. It is about Kansas, a wonderful trip and good barbecue. The sentiment is like 98% positive. And you talked about Kansas, the entity Kansas. And then it links the entity Kansas to a Wikipedia object. And now with this, you can do really cool things. So this is a Logic app I made. A Logic app is our offering where you can create small applications by just dragging and dropping small actions actually. So it listens to something. So it starts with when a new tweet is posted on my Twitter, in my Twitter feed, and you search for the hashtag experts live or build stuff. Do that like every 30 seconds. Then we filter out all the retweets, and then we send this piece of this tweet to the sentiment analysis service, and we insert the response back into our Azure table. And then here what we get. We get the score for every tweet. Like 0 is low and 1 is high. And then we can just measure the sentiment over the conference. Are people generally happy? Are people complaining? Are specific people complaining? So that is why most of these people, if you post something negative about a company, will actually respond very fast, because now you can make a trigger. Hey, someone is very negative. Okay, let's put on another action, send an email, and then someone from customer service can reach out. And that is just one API call and a logic app or an Azure function or what language you're programming in that is needed. Another great example is Video Indexer. And this example is so great, or this service is so great, because it is combining a lot of other services. It can automatically extract advanced meta information from video and audio content. So let's have a look at this service. So you just go to the website Video Indexer, and you can start uploading your videos. So I have a lot of videos, I've tested it out, but I want to show you this video. This is a keynote from our Global AI Bootcamp before, like 1 year ago, 2019, and it is loading in. You're not authorized to see this video, perfect. But luckily we see it here. So here we see the people it is found in the video frame. So it actually analyzed a lot of these frames and told me, hey, Henk is in this part and this part and this part of the video. Let's have a look for Eric Boyd. Eric Boyd came in a little bit later, said is in this and this and this, and this piece. The extracted topics, it is mostly about science, mathematics, and machine learning, which is actually right. It is the keynote for the Global AI Bootcamp. It's talking about artificial intelligence, and we can actually see when they're debating which topic. It is labeling it. Yeah, there is a man. Okay. Now I'm curious who is holding a basket. It is mostly indoors. Some texts are a little bit off. And then it has some named entities. So we were talking about things there. We were talking about the United States, about Texas, about India, talking about people. There were actually people in this video we showed. Jamie and Sharon were recognized. Found things about the United States here that linked and actually pointed where we were talking about this piece. Classified how happy we were during the video. We were like, I think most of it happy. Should be. It was a keynote, so we should have been happy. And it chopped out automatically those scenes for me. I don't think it will play and now because I probably have to log in again. But it will here, that has me and shots in this scene. And one of the cool things it does, it is generating a complete transcription for me also. So it is also doing speech to text. So I can click on here and then find out. It also gives me the transcript in JSON, but it can also give me the subtitles. So I can actually download the SRT files here or the VTT files from the subtitles and upload them to YouTube or Vimeo or any other video provider, Or I can even just embed this video, put it to public, and embed it here and have it with subtitles and transcription on my website. So, and it can of course translate it for me to Dutch. So a lot of small dedicated AI systems combined give you this great experience. And basically for none of this capability, you actually have to code or to do the AI thing to train your model. You just have to call a bunch of APIs that are already running in the cloud. So that is video indexing. Another cool thing is if you're into AI and into trying out new services, are our Microsoft Cognitive Services labs. And this is like a little bit looking into the research labs of what projects Microsoft is working on. And these are probably cognitive services that will be released in a period of time nobody actually knows, and if they're going to make it into production. But if the cognitive service is not there you're looking for, you can always look here, see if they're trying to develop it, and it gives you the opportunity to actually help developing it by applying for a trial key, to get in contact with the product teams, and to build this service out. So one of my favorite services that still has to go out, I'm talking about it now for 2 years, but it still has to go out into production, is Project Gestures. And this gives me the ability, or should give me the ability, to incorporate gestures into my applications and control my my computer with gestures and not the keyboard or the mouse. The downside now is that you need one of these two cameras. The Kinect V2, you will find probably one on eBay very cheaply, but you need a depth camera because it needs to see your hands through a depth camera. So you can either use the Intel RealSense cameras or the Kinect version 2 camera. The difference is that the Kinect has to be a little bit more to the back, like half a meter, 80 centimeters, and the RealSense can be on top of your monitor and be like 30 to 50 centimeters from your hands to actually do that. In opposite of all the other cognitive services, you need to install this cognitive service on your machine. So the other ones live in the cloud, but this one lives on your machine. So when you install the Microsoft Gesture service on your machine, and like you see here, it is tracking your hand. So it is seeing all your individual fingers, and in the latest version, it can detect up to 2 hands. And this is how it looks in code. You just have to make like 5 lines. You define your hand poses, you combine hand poses in a gesture, and you register that gesture at the running gesture service, and then when a gesture is triggered, you can do whatever you want. And this code is this application. And you see how fast it responds. We can have this demo, but it is just those lines of code. You get out of the box a lot of cool things, because if you install this, you get gesture packs, making that you can control Windows and PowerPoint with your hands. Just sit like this. I should have actually installed it and swipe my slides like that. Hang up Skype in a cool way. That wouldn't have been good for this conference. Move things into 3D space. Move things into 3D space and play YouTube. Sit back, relax, pause it, add it to your favorites, always good in Edge. And this is how you want to use Facebook. Sit back, swipe, 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 and like. And of course, it is pretty good for gaming. So one final thing, always before we go, I think you will hear some. The future we invent is a choice we make and not something that just happens. That's a quote I really like because we're all developers. We're all building software. So we determine which lines of code we actually produce, and we can prevent these horrible things from happening. So we are the ones to deploy it to production. And there are a lot of good things we can do. And I didn't share it with sound, so I will skip this. So that was it. I want to thank you, and then we can answer some questions.
Thank you, Henk, for such a nice presentation. I really enjoyed myself. It was very informative. And we have a question and 3 minutes to answer to this question. If we don't have enough of time, we can move to talk to the speakers room and just continue there. So Denny, he's a speaker from Belgium, and his question is, who should know that they are using AI? Programmers, engineers, or everyone? How many people are using chatbot system or other tools enriched with AI without knowing it? How many little folks do know that YouTube, Spotify, etc. use AI to give you suggestions without knowing they're using tools that use AI? Like, for example, when I'm sad, I listen to Lana Del Rey on YouTube, right? And then they give me suggestions based on my feelings, my emotions. So I'm aware about AI, but I guess this is more like ethical or educational question. Who should know that AI is used?
Yeah, that is a very good question because those recommendation systems amplify your current emotion, your current state. I was just looking for secondhand microphones, and then suddenly the whole internet consists of microphones. And that is a big thing because this is just microphones. But if I have some idea about a very specific topic, it will just starting to amplify my feeling because it is showing me more and more and more and more. And that is a real problem. I just learned, I think, from Hakan, he was also a speaker here, that in somewhere in the Nordics, if I remember correctly, it's Finland, there is going to be an education about AI. It's just going to be a course that is available from the government by everyone. And I think it is a good thing to know. Everyone should know that AI can make these things and should not basically trust everything they see.
Yeah. Do you think that something like a small sticker or like a tab might appear on websites, and it will say that AI is used on this platform?
Yeah, it should, but at the moment there are so many things that already use a little bit of AI.
Yeah.
Even if it is that it is going to be a common thing that you can assume that AI is used, but you basically want to know how the AI is used and for what specific part, and especially if it is making decisions for you. That would be good. Thanks everyone for listening and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Henk. Thank you. Bye.